What's up, y'all? It is September 11th. It is Wednesday, and this is our 50th episode of Throwing Light, and it's a special. It is now another meetup with my IML class siblings for IML class 46. We're going to go ahead and kick this and get this started so you can meet all of my lovely siblings here. Before we get started, remember IML TJ reads, this is Throwing Light, and if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. And remember that this show was inspired by Ashwell Sexual Health and Wellness in Austin. If you could, please go visit ashwellatx.org to see the local services that they provide for our community, including health services and even a food bank. So please go over there and check that out. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's go ahead and kick it off with our international Mr. Leather. 46. Jamal, how are you?
I'm doing good. Busy, very busy,
So
but doing good.
you were recently on the show just like a couple of weeks ago. So, welcome back. And I
It's good
know
to be
that
back.
you're super busy. All right. So Matt, what are you up to? Matt.
What am I up to? So since I guess IML, which was what in May, so we have June, July, August, September now, so about like 4 months. So I started a business. I'm co-owner of the Cleather and Kink Company. Um, Emphasis on the CLE at the beginning for Cleveland Leather and Kink. With my partner Andy Curtis, who also competed at IML with us. We've decided to produce the leather title Cleveland Person of Gear because in the Cleveland area we had one gender neutral title, I believe. It was for a bear title, but there was also a mama bear title, so it was kind of confusing that like you could also run for the bear title. And so we really wanted something that not only reached out to people who may be gender non-conforming or may not identify either as a man or a woman specifically, and also something that is for gear, like any type of gear, whether it be motocross gear, leather gear. We do not have a Mr. Cleveland rubber or anything like that, so we didn't really have a rubber title. So we tried to be inclusive that way to fill some gaps. So besides that, we've definitely been trying to organize more events for the Cleveland area. Things like we continually do our board game nights, and then also we're trying to look into more like underwear, EDM dances that Cleveland hasn't really been doing. So just trying to spice things up and make things different. So that's
That's
just a couple of
awesome.
things that we've been doing since I am.
Awesome, Matt. So, Daddy James, what are you up to?
I've been very quiet lately. After IML, I came home, had pneumonia. Then, um, 3 days before the Columbus Pride Parade, my vehicle was stolen and found a month later, not in good shape. And the first of July, I wasn't feeling well, so I went to my doctor and found a mass on my liver. So I actually went this past Tuesday with my doctor because they wanted to get me in and get it surgery, and I couldn't mentally deal with it. So I went in Tuesday, and we set have a date of August 19th to go in for surgery to see to get it removed, but then also see if it's cancer. That's the first time I've actually said that word. So right now, and today I might be leaving early because of the Rangers, which is an organization I belong to. I'm also on the executive board as treasurer. So we have our meeting currently going on as this is going on. And so I will be leaving shortly to go deal with that.
Thank you, James. And like we are here for you 100%, and you don't have to
100%.
do that. And it takes the bravery to say the word cancer. I understand, but regardless of what's going on, we're here to support you, and we're wanting nothing but just positive things through this process. But just know that we love you, and you can always vent to us about anything and say the things that might be tough to say, to other people. But you can be who you are, and you can talk to us about anything that's going on. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So now,
That's why
you what? What'd you say?
Go ahead.
So
Go
now
ahead. That's
we
why
got.
you see all this gray now. I haven't colored since IML.
I
It
digress.
looks good. Well, you don't need to color it. It looks really good on you.
It does.
Yeah, right. I'm still vain and gay.
Tony, what's up? Number three. What you
Hi, how's it going? Um, it's been crazy since IML. The week after I had my step down for gay days, and that went very, very well. Um, I have I've been touring with go-go dancing as well as networking and finding some more venues for my dance party called the Phallic Frolic. I produced an event that's happening actually next month in Wilton Manors, Florida, called the Meetup USA, and it's a bi-coastal fetish event. And so I'm really just spending the next, month gearing up for that. And producing is such a huge task. And when you start out, it's very minimal, like as far as what the return on investment is intangible right now, but eventually, hopefully, I'll get this ball rolling. I'm doing a soft launch of our retail segment, so we have like t-shirts and tank tops and stuff like that available online for purchase with the meetup branding on it and stuff. Just because we've had such a big response and people wanting those shirts that I'm sure you guys have seen around, people wearing to the gym and stuff. But it's going pretty well for the most part. I'm going to be fully honest with you. It wasn't all roses and sunshine when I got back to LA. I had a bit of pushback from my local community, whether, preconceived notions as to if I was, qualified to go or if I was worthy of going or whatever. So it was interesting to deal with. It kind of was reminiscent of when I came out of the closet. I wasn't really accepted by my peers at the time. And so I had that same feeling. So I took a little step back and just started focusing on myself and my health and my well-being. So I got, my full blood work panel done and several things to just focus on, myself and the meetup and really hone in on what my purpose is.
Right on, Tony. All right, cool. Now let's see. Let's kick it over to Spencer.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is sit in the corner of a San Francisco bar, eat popcorn, and stick everybody's secrets in my wig. So that's been consuming the majority of my time. um, more so though, post IML, I jumped right back into the San Francisco community space, event producing. I'm coming up on 13 years of running my pit fetish party known as Stank at the legendary Powerhouse Bar at the corner of Folsom and Dory. So if you're coming for Folsom Street Fair, Folsom Friday, we'll have Stank. I'm on 2 nonprofit boards right now, so I've stayed busy in that space. One is Team Friendly Bay Area, for those who know. Team Friendly is an org that works to reduce the stigma of living with HIV and AIDS. So really getting them ready for the high season, as we say, right? Prepping for Folsom, but also working on introducing scholarship program through Team Friendly Bay Area. So that's kind of a really active, driven effort right now. And then the second group would be San Francisco Rubber. So last year we started our first San Francisco Rubber weekend. AJ Huff, who's our current Mr. International Rubber, is my leather child. I stepped down as Mr. Powerhouse to AJ. So him and Rodrigo, or Pup Rush, along with a handful of other people, are really actively working towards our second San Francisco Rubber weekend. So beyond that, I'm, tied to my 40-hour-a-week job and doing online programs and certifications and questioning myself every day why I can't say no. So I think that's probably a familiar theme for many of us. I like to say I'm not ready for Volunteers Anonymous right now, but there's that. So yeah, just staying busy in the Bay as we do. We're all compelled to the work. I can't walk away from it. So if you need help with your project, ask me because I probably can't say no.
Well, I'm also going to take this volunteers and anonymous thing and run with it. So thank you for that idea. I'm going to the bank.
There is a group of people in San Francisco that meet from time to time under that kind of like name of Volunteers Anonymous. So go for it. I think chapters is appropriate.
All right, and I love books and chapters. So, okay, so let's kick it over to AJ. Hello, AJ. How are
Hey,
you?
hey there. I'm good, good. No, after IML, I took a few weeks off and then just picked up right where I left off with all the pride parades and whatnot throughout Michigan. June was a fun month getting out and just getting to different places throughout the state. And then we focused on trying to do some different leather events to try and pull the community a little closer together. So we had some hanky code parties. We did some stuff out at some of the gay campgrounds. We did a pool palooza where we did pretty much focused, kept everybody at the pool and just made sure they got well fed and refreshed all weekend long. And then just trying to help with different events throughout the state here in Michigan, different leather weekends and events. This weekend, for example, they had a contest with the Bears. So got to spend a lot of time with the Motor City Bears, and it was fun. Then, of course, Southern Decadence. Wow, wow, that was a great time. That was a good competition. I was surprised to hear how that worked out. But now focusing on just around the corner, my step aside is in 13 days. So there'll be a new leader here in Michigan to represent the community. So I'm super excited about that. And then in early October, I'm judging one of the local leather competitions for the weekend. And then I'm off to Wisconsin in November for the Wisconsin Leather Pride weekend as well. So fun stuff, just busy.
That I think the key word, like sometimes people will be like, "You seem busy." I'm like, "Seem? Like, is that shade? Like I am busy."
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then then I've got 3 kids and a full-time job in there as well.
I don't know, y'all. I don't know how we do
about
it, but
that.
we do it. We're superheroes.
We
Tom,
do it.
People
welcome
forget
back,
about all
Tom.
that.
Hi, thanks for having me on, and greetings from a wet and gloomy London. Fall, or yeah, as you say, fall, or as we'd say, autumn has kind of officially started. So I'm rocking the plaid, of course. Oh my gosh, for me, the past few months has been crazy in the best way possible. We similar to what Spencer said, we go back into our 9 to 5 job. So getting into that routine took a hell of a lot of time and effort. So we're just about back into that alongside dealing with the come down that was, IML. Took me about a good month or so, really, battling the sheer monstrosity that was Pride. It was absolutely a crazy season from my side personally. I think having to choose where to go to in Europe was quite a challenge for me, but I met so many wonderful people. I know that Jamal came along to Hamburg in August, Germany, which was a huge pleasure. We went to where did we go to? Went to Madrid, went to Utrecht, which is a small city close by to Amsterdam. We went to Europride in Thessaloniki in Greece, which was great. Hamburg, as mentioned, Trans Plus Pride in London was a huge success. Alongside that, getting back into the London leather scene, which was great. I've definitely, I haven't put much time and effort into that this year to go back into my kind of Leather Cruise monthly event that I help organize was really, really great. I became a pup godfather, for those who didn't know, to a certain Jamal who's on the call. So that was, I think, for both of us quite new, wasn't it? The Berlin Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence ran a really lovely event in which all of the sisters have certain sorts of protocols and procedures and celebratory events. So that was one which I was very, very proud of. And now, similar to a lot of people on the call, I've got my step down in just over a month's time. So it's firstly fathoming that. So it's been a hell of a lot of reflection, thinking of what to say, and obviously helping the local club down in Zurich on the weekend. So that's going to be the 18th to the 19th of October. So plenty that's been done over the past few months, and plenty that's to come prior to my step down. So yeah, looking forward to it.
That's awesome. So Jamal, okay, so let me go ahead and just be honest here, and we're all in the WhatsApp. And Jamal, like, so I know from you winning IML and from when we talked, and you were just playing out your schedule, you're touring. We know you're on a tour. But I want to highlight how you take the time to be engaged to all of us as your siblings. I commend you because I'm busy and I'm not as good. Like I have a little dinging bell that lets me know every time someone sends a chat. Okay, just so I can be aware. But I'm not always good at just kind of starting conversations and doing things. But Jamal, you have time to acknowledge every person, every comment. Like I mean, like you just it's a phenomenal because I feel like I would be stressed out. So let's be real here. Like, I mean, how do you find a time to be there for everyone and be there for yourself?
It's hard because it's a lot. It's a lot because there's a lot behind the scenes that's done. Um, like for me personally, scheduling, dealing with issues that people may have, or just when you become IML, it does change your perspective about a lot of things. And then people change. And not necessarily you change, but people change. And then you start seeing who they are. And then, I'm the type of person that, okay, you show me who you are the first time, I believe you. Right. And so it's teaching me a lot about being observant, looking at signs. But a lot of things that my brothers are doing, I want to acknowledge that because I want to acknowledge the fact that just because you didn't win IML doesn't mean your work is done. Or that doesn't mean that you're still not making huge contributions to our community. And it needs to be recognized. And like Matt doing his own business, oh my God. And Tom, you're all over the place. I don't see how you do it. Um, Tony, I've seen Tony Tony be on the road. Let me tell you, Tony be moving and shaking. Spencer, you are at every event. You've helped me with a lot of my events, and I reach out to Spencer a lot to include him in a lot of the events that I'm doing, like my Fetish Carnival, because he's a phenomenal impact artist, and I think he should be seen. And so, and I hope everybody could be there. It's the Friday before Stank. I made sure he's going the first in line so that we can make sure we can have time to go to Stank afterwards. But and then you, Oliver, Lewis, you're really trying to make a change in the Texas community, bring people together, and it's difficult. It is difficult because we, not us in this room, but our community doesn't make it easy a lot of times. We let little things interfere with the bigger picture. So we need to celebrate the little things as much as the big things for what's good that's going out there, as much as we paying attention to the negative. We need to pay attention to the positive.
And
And
we
so I'll make the time.
and I have to try to as I make decisions. I'm not perfect, y'all, and I don't like conflicts, but I do know that Jamal was very very direct in that he wanted to lead by what we have in common and not our differences. And I think from having that conversation with you, I tried to be a little bit more mindful in terms of how I'm approaching things. Because there are several things in our community that I think we should shed light on, but I don't want it to come off like negative, like I'm focusing on all our issues and problems. I do want to highlight the
Or poking
positive
fingers.
that we have going on in our community too. But I just say with Jamal, it is hard. It is very hard because a lot of times, and y'all might attest to this, we're navigating other people's conflicts that are affecting our community work. And two people might have an issue with each other and might start throwing grenades at the community work because they're not thinking about everyone else, if that makes sense. And so I think it's been kind of a learning process to know how to deal with conflict resolution a lot of times, because you got so many different people coming together. And let's be honest, like not everybody dynamically fits together, and that's okay. But we can work with who we can work with to accomplish what we need as a community, right? That's what I think. So James, what's someone like? What is something specifically that you think that um is a big focus for you right now?
He may be in his board
James, you
meeting.
hear me?
Yeah,
We'll see.
Can you hear me, James?
I don't think he can.
Yeah, I think he's in his board meeting. I think.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we'll come back to James. All right. Okay. Let's go over to Matt. So Matt, okay, you kind of fit in this category with AJ. We got to hang out. I invited you to come to New Orleans. You came. For a fact, I was super busy. I was trying to get things done. I have this poetry. I have a nonprofit for writers I've been working on for the LGBT community in Louisiana, but it's for anyone that has lived in Louisiana or lives there currently. Matt came to the show and he actually read. He did a poem. Was it Wolf Daddy? What was
Dog Daddy. Dog Daddy.
it? Was called Dog Daddy. He said AI helped him write it. He wrote it with his So he read the poem. I'm going to be posting it this week. I'm going to do the thing, but that was so nice to do that. But Matt, so yeah,
Oh, Lewis, wait, Lewis, I just want to take like a quick thing here. So Lewis was so busy this weekend because he was judging Louisiana leather that he even still had time, which he's been doing for, I think you said like I don't know if it was like 5 or 10 years. You said
10
you've been doing
years.
this, Lewis, but basically, yeah, it was like he gets these writers from all over like Louisiana and around like New Orleans to like come and like read poetry like a couple times a year. I thought it was incredible. Like I was sitting there like sipping my drink, listening to these stories, and like it's not just poems; it's like the books that they're working on or these writings. I thought it was absolutely incredible. I really appreciate you sharing that with me, and I had so much fun with it. So I just want to say thank you for that. And you did that intermingling with in between interviews in the morning, and then you did that, and then you did like the actual contest later on. So it was just like a shit ton. So
Whew. My thing is, y'all, I don't ever want to be so in my head and be so busy that I can't enjoy y'all. And I might have talked to y'all about this before. I said the one thing when IML was over, that anything that I was fretting over was, did I spend enough time with my siblings? Because some of these people will never be, we're not going to ever be all 59 together. It's not going to happen. That's over. But and then the ones like us that are we're still sticking out and doing our thing. But it's a very interesting thing. Let's kick it over back to Tony. Tony, so you were also in New Orleans. I didn't get to see you, unfortunately. I was there for a long time. I don't know how I didn't run into you. What's been like a big focus for you in terms of not just your community work, but how has IML helped you shape your path forward?
IML for me was very I mean, you guys as a class, my title brothers, you are all so incredible. Like each and every one of you, it's been really an honor and a privilege to get to know each and every one of you and to hear your stories and to see what you're doing in your in your bubble, in your communities. And it's really IML really helped me kind of sharpen my tools as far as like, okay, let's go ahead and focus on maybe some parts of my events that I wasn't focusing on before. Having giving back to 501(c)(3) is one of nonprofit is a part of all of the projects that I'm involved with, and sharpening that, maybe involving more organizations, just using the tools from IML to just hone in on various things that I can improve on and am. So yeah, I think the biggest thing, the takeaway is just utilizing what you guys have inspired me with, and kind of infusing that in everything that I'm participating in currently.
It was, and I was contestant one, you were contestant three, and we've had conversation about that. But I do feel, I mean, you're very much memorable for me, Tony, because I mean we literally had to look at each other for like very up closely for days. So like, like you saw the emotions I was going through, and you were going through your emotions. But like I'm glad that like someone was there to just help me feel sane through the process. And you were very supportive, I think. And probably, I wish I could have returned that favor a little bit more, because you never came off nervous or anything like to me through the competition. And you just seemed to be very, very calm. And so it was just nice being close in numbers to people that, are there just to be who they are. I mean, we all are, but like, I think that in a lot of ways, you guys all helped me find that way to kind of stand out and be who I am. Tom, so you are traveling a lot. You do travel a lot next to Jamal, right? So, and you said your step down is coming up. How do you want to end things?
Oh my God, without, doing something stupid on stage, firstly, because I know it'll be a mixture of emotions, everything in between. I'll say this in my speech as well, but, and a few people know it from my side, it's not like I've been in the community for too long as well. So for the past 2.5, pushing 3 years, everything has crescendoed so quickly. And from my side, actually, just as of today, I've finished my kind of first draft of a step down speech. So everything is quite raw right up in here, and right here in my heart as well. How I'd love to end things. I think there are two kind of buzzwords that I want people to almost remember my time by. It's not like I'm going to disappear into the ether, but obviously come back. But the first word is P for passion, more than anything. Whilst you can, still be quite, new to the community, if you've really found what, turns you on in the community, other than some fabulous kinky sex. For me, that could be history, it could be creating events, learning and being curious from people. Ensuring that P word for passion always comes through and through. And secondly, decency. I think we mentioned it, Jamal. I think you mentioned it as well. Really, this, the general queer community is, small, and then the leather community is a fraction of us as well. Showing decency and moral values is something that I've tried my best to bring across this year. And if I can do my best to shine that on a successor, a Sash son, a Sash siblings, all of us as a whole, that's how I'd love to really end things. But when we think more tactically and tangibly, to your point, Louis, there are about 6 or 7 other events that are coming up to showcase that. We've got Folsom coming up, which is really kind of almost the Folsom Europe, the pinnacle of all things European socializing in terms of events. For those who haven't been to
I
Folsom
can't
Europe, it's something
wait.
quite, yeah. It's something quite similar to San Francisco, but more leather weather. It's going to be at 17, 18 degrees C. And that's something to look forward to. On the flip side, we're going over down to Portugal. To Palomas, Jamal is going to be there as well. So that goes more onto the heat side of things. So, similar to over in across the pond, September, October is a manic time in terms of so many events to choose from. So we've got about 6 or 7 other events to really look forward to, and hit that nail home of those two buzzwords that I said a couple of minutes ago.
And I just want to say, whoever's your Sash child got some huge shoes to fill. Huge shoes to fill. Because you're the most prominent, I'm just gonna say for me, the most prominent Mr. Europe that I've ever met. That
Thank
I've
you.
come in contact with. So yeah, you are a great representative of the European nation. And I'm just proud to have you as a godfather, and I'm proud to have you as a friend.
Thank you. And from my side, almost finishing up, and it hits home what Jamal said. Sometimes of these larger titles that hit home, kind of from my side, it started with London, and then when you go to Europe, I guess Jamal has over the past few months gone through something similar, where kind of your bubble kind of grows obviously to such an exponential amount. It's difficult to take some time into that, and sometimes you don't feel like you're doing as many projects, but you're hitting home a lot of people and communities, and that to some extent can be equally as important. So yeah, that's something that's been a huge learning curve for me. And obviously, since being IML, my bubble has obviously grown over to the whole world and beyond. So yeah.
Right on, Tom. All right, James. So, what is something that you've been primarily focusing on for yourself as part of your journey post IML?
Well, ever since IML, it's like I said, I've been very close. But my goal is next year is to make sure our one of my passion is one of the universities that is here in Ohio, which is Kent State University, has been a passion since 2019 for me. They help the LGBT community at the university. I didn't know the impact until I presented a fundraising check to them. How many families still kick out their kids because of who they are? And when I heard that, that actually hit home. Not so much because I have a fantastic mother that supports me, but knowing in today's society, kids are still being let go of who they are. So that's always been a goal of mine to always make sure our community is better than what we were given it. So when I hear that a kid who has been sleeping in his truck for 2 months finally getting housing that from a fundraiser I did makes me know I've done what I'm here for. So that's always going to be my concrete of making sure whoever's presidency is that I am doing what I need for my community.
Right on. Okay. So let's see here. AJ, let's kick it back over to you. You definitely have a lot of laid back vibes. You you carry a
A little
title
bit.
very laid back fashion, which I appreciate. Like if you had not have been at IML and I had not been around your energy, it would have been really hard to move on. But you really helped me just move forward and let it be what it was, and I appreciate that. And of course, you were another surprise visit, and you showed up to New Orleans too. You're getting ready to step down, and I'm actually going to start doing some group questions for us. But what has been a big highlight for you during your title run?
Just getting to meet people like yourselves, getting around and just, just hearing the different aspects of what's going on in your communities and what you struggle with and how that resonates to us here in Michigan. Yeah, it was powerful. I got I got a lot more personal growth out of IML than I ever expected I would.
So let's see here. Okay. Spencer. So I got to do Stank. I did get to come to the Stank party when I was there for Dory. And San Francisco has a lot going on. Uh, you know, what are ways that you feel that you really help impact the San Francisco community that highlight some of your strengths?
Oh man, I feel like that's such a a big question because there is so much work happening in San Francisco. I think there's this concept that we talked about at IML a lot as a class, individually and in groups, about authenticity. And I think Stank is definitely an event that is unique and specific. And if you've seen our marketing, we're very like loud and super intentional about just like letting that flag be what it is. And if it's your thing, great. If it's not, great, right? So I think it's kind of stood out, and it's almost 13 years in San Francisco, not only for really creating its own space and being an example for how others can create these niche type of experiences, but to points like Tony made earlier, right? Incorporating in other community orgs as a beneficiary, right? To say that as leather folk or kinksters or like niche areas of community that maybe otherwise are underrepresented or are kind of looked down upon, that there is really good work coming out of these corners. And I think beyond San Francisco being, a reference point to these kinds of events or spaces is equally important, right? So I think that's why I stay compelled in that work, right? I think different from a number of my brothers, I didn't go to IML after my first title. I took 6 years off from titles and continued in community work, and so I had a bit of a different journey. So coming back out of IML was like I was just getting back on the bike and getting back into the work, So I think those are like the main points, right? The authenticity, the good that comes from community when we factor opening the table and bringing others in, and opening yourself to be a resource or a point of reference for all of these wonderful things that we get to do.
So when I was in Dory, and I know Jamal is a little bit aware of it. So when I was there with Dory, being out in the San Francisco scene, it was a little hard for me in terms of, like running into drugs and things like that. You all know that I'm, sober of crystal meth almost 2 years, and I don't want to engage things that are going to make me give up that sobriety. But Jamal texted me. Yeah, I mean, I think Jamal could tell I was struggling a little bit in just being in that space. And he did reach out to me the next day to check on me. And so, as somebody that does struggle with sobriety and things like that, like, what are some ways for people that are dealing with addiction or things like that that they can get involved in the San Francisco space? And I'm asking this question to Jamal and to Spencer.
I think there's a lot of opportunity because I don't want to get the impression that everybody is. There's a lot of sober individuals in the San Francisco space. We have even a sober title that, and I wish our other brother was here, Belicio, who is a sober brother, and look how much work he does, as in the Bay Area and as a sister perpetual indulgence. So, there is a lot of work to be done. I'm seeing firsthand how not being sober is hurting a lot of people. So, I'm having to, create, basically co-found a new pup organization here in the midst of everything else. But it's important for our community to have an organization that I like to be part of an organization that brings in all the misfit toys, I guess you could say. All the kids who don't feel like they fit in can come over here because you'll fit in here with us and give back to the community. There is a lot that could be done, a lot of foundations, and people actually here promote and support sobriety.
Yeah.
Rather than try to get you to do stuff that, as long as you say, I'm sober, and that's it. And we respect that. And we hold to that. I can't say 100% people do, but 98.99% of the people do. If you let them know that's your journey, they will support that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
from my side, if I can quickly vouch in from what you folks are referring to in your experiences in San Francisco, London is obviously kind of something similar. I think in the general gay and queer communities, obviously, especially in the UK, when a lot of socials and spaces revolve around you finish your 9 to 5, let's grab a drink, question mark, and then we automatically go over to the local pub. It could be a queer space, it could be whatever, and you'll get your pint, and that's it really. And then it can, just completely go on from there. I think if I compare from my experience the London gay and queer community compared to the leather and kink community, leather and kink as a community is hugely more aware in terms of sobriety and that could just be purely based around previous experiences from people as well in clubs, bars, and taking a wrong turn. So from our experience, we do have similar measures in London. So from my side, whilst I might be however many thousands of miles away, it's something that hits home to me. And from my side, not necessarily being sober, I think that word sober aware is something that we use a hell of a lot in the UK, and we try our best to vouch by as well. So yeah, I feel you there, definitely, Jamal.
Sober aware. Got that. That's
Mm.
I think there's also just a responsibility in the work that we do as leaders. Like, sure, sober aware, fantastic, but to be like resource harbingers, right? Like understanding who those people are that you can go to that understand alternative spaces. I love that Jamal called out Basilio. Basilio actually is involved with the Sober Leather title and group in San Francisco. I think sometimes the hardest part is knowing where to start, right? I think we know as members of this community that use of substances, drinking, all of these different things is rampant. And I think the hardest thing oftentimes for our friends or folks that we see out in community to acknowledge is now is the time. Now I need support. So I think we have to have an awareness. I think it comes into marketing and materials, right? When you talk about a beverage bust versus a beer bust, right? Like, how conscious are we around the language we're using? How conscious are we around building an active list of the resources people can go to or individuals they can go to, right? And making it feel like it comes from a place of like genuine support. I think there's so much shame that people feel when they're trying to come to term with identifying what amount of support is right for them. So I think it's just a few of those things just to really be mindful of, especially in richer areas or larger, more dynamic urban areas, right? Like London or San Francisco. So,
I know. Okay, back to Tony. So you've had your step down, correct?
My first step down, yes.
Your first step down.
Yeah. I have a second title as Mr. LA Leather Bear, and that step down is in January.
So having two titles, what does that increase the amount of work that you have dual? Because I know there are a few people that carry dual titles. I think even Tom, you were a dual title carrier. So how does that impact you? Does it give you more, I guess, opportunities?
Yes. I mean, to an extent, it definitely gives more a lot more responsibility, obviously, obligations to fulfilling both titles. Each organization has its own goals and
Expectation.
things that they want. So fulfilling those obligations and doing them well, right? I've had a lot of situations where I've been trying to do the most, and I'm reminded to, like, okay, it's okay to say no. It's okay to hone in the focus back on yes, of course, focusing on gay days or focusing on Bears LA are important, but doing that in a way that's gonna what am I trying to say? Push everything forward and push that move the train along, if so to speak. Um, so it's definitely been a lot of responsibility, and that pressure isn't for everybody. It really isn't. And I've been trying to educate my, leather family down here to, if you compete for a title and you don't win, baby, that spotlight isn't moving from you, that you are under that magnifying lens, and you're going to be under that for quite some time, at least the year, right? As me, as a prime example, I got first runner up for Gay Days initially, and it wasn't until 6 months later that I received the title, because the previous winner had to step down. So you're not out of the woods yet. You know what I mean? Like, you have that responsibility. Even if you don't win, we have the responsibility, as title class 46, to keep our legacy, and our standards high. And yes, nobody's perfect. And yes, I screw up all the time, but working through that and trying to better yourself whilst holding these mantles, it is a challenge, but one that I've been able to somehow make happen. And yeah.
I think there's a misconception when we hold these titles that we're supposed to be perfect, and people forget that this is a journey for us who have title holders, who are title holders and get these new titles. We encounter new stuff all the time that we didn't even anticipate. So we're in a journey of growth, even though we're at the pinnacle of whatever title you have, you're still growing because you're still going through stuff that you just didn't anticipate was going to happen. And you grow from it, learn from it, and then hopefully you can pass that down to the next person. And I think that's what Marcus has done for me and the previous IMLs. And even my title brothers tell me about the stuff that they've gone through in their areas, and I'm learning from that as well and navigating. So it's a constant journey, whether you win or not. It's still a constant journey.
Right.
AJ, you're getting ready to step down. Jamal and I will be there judging to help pick the new Mr. Michigan Leather. What is your?
I'm super excited.
So, what do you want your legacy to be as you get ready to step down?
Just knowing that I did the best I could to bring the community together, and the ones that wanted to be a part of the community were a part of the community, and the ones that maybe didn't want to be or wanted to do their own thing were welcome to do so as well.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, so you're definitely moving now and you're thinking beyond your title. Your step down was a while back, but you have maintained being active. So, what do you want to see your future look like in this community?
Yeah, so when you say this community, I kind of like chuckled to myself a little bit because I've been traveling a lot for work or just for other things in the last since like IML. And even before I, right, you go to all these places, and each community is just so different, and the people that make up the communities are also so different. So I guess I'm just because I was born and raised in Cleveland, right? Like I don't think I said this at the beginning. I was Mr. Cleveland Leather 2023. So I can just speak to what I know most about, which is my community here in Cleveland. But I guess from a standpoint of like what I want to do and kind of like what's that legacy look like? I mean, just being more inclusive. Um, I know specifically for our community, we have a lot of people that will actually like do their own fundraisers, right? They don't have a title, which is amazing. And that's like to me the next evolutionary step into some of the things that we do is that the community itself, you don't have to be a leader, quote unquote. You can raise money for yourselves to the organizations that you have a personal passion on. And I think empowering people to do that is amazing. I will also say we have scanty women representation in Cleveland. So that's something that we're trying to focus more on the women aspect, right? Because what I feel like what our community needs. So I think it just in terms of like this community, I just focus on what I can for my own. And then if anyone ever needs any help, I also like do anything to assist. But um, I just think being knowledgeable about what your community needs and wants are is very important for just your specific little section of the world there.
That's a great, amazing answer. Let's see here. So, we're getting close to the end. I want to go through all y'all, and I'm going to ask you the question if you've done this interview before at the very end. Let's kick it back over to AJ again. AJ, is there anything, like let's say you have one last opportunity to shed light on something in the community that we have not shed light on before? What would it be?
Oh, geez. Geez, that's a great question. Let me come back to me on that one.
Okay, I'll give you some time. I'm going to kick it back over to you, Spencer.
Oh man, I thought I was going to be further down the line from hearing some of y'all share your answers. Look, I think similar to Jamal's platform, inclusion and staying in an inclusion-minded space is so relevant to everything that we need to focus on as leaders, right? And so if I think about where I'm shining the light, I need to look at the table and see who's not at the table. And I think less a specific thing, but more frame of mind and thinking, right? I think when you think you've done enough, ask yourself one more time at least, like, you know, who is missing from this equation? Who is missing from this scene? I think staying in that space helps me stay really present and aware of the conversations that are happening. So I just think coming from that space, right? It's not any one thing in particular. We find ourselves in very dynamic settings, environments, groups, businesses, you know, social spaces. And so it's not one thing so much as it's one frame of mind. Who is not here that should be, and what can I actively do to encourage their participation next time or create a welcoming environment? So I think that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I think I answered the question.
Wonderfully.
Just fine. I'm gonna kick it back to you, Tony. What's something that you think we need to shed light on?
I mean, with this journey to IML and post IML, I've inadvertently been creating a space for body modification. That's something that's been, you know, in the media, it's been very negative. It's been very, you know, because people don't know, and education, awareness, visibility are the things that I've been focusing on. And I know that the work, you know, like is not even close to being done in this arena. And I might not even see it in my lifetime. People have compared me to, you know, pioneers in the past of, like, you know, leaving this legacy behind to help this small niche of people that exist. You know, 95% of the body modification community are very much living long and healthy lives because they're taking the right steps to seek out professional medical attention, you know, seek out information that's available online, whether it's a Discord chat group or whether it's on Facebook or my event personally. Having these venues and utilizing all of our resources, whether it's social media or, you know, just the internet in general. Typing in a Google search is fine, but connecting with those people and having a physical space is very important to me. And that's something very new to the body mod friends of ours. It's something that's never happened before. Yes, there was like Palm Springs Pumpers Weekend and Monster Meet in Europe, but something like this in the States has never happened before. You know, I was recently interviewed by an executive over at the Howard Stern show. And yeah, they kind of spun it to make it more Howard Stern, you know, poking fun at it. But just the fact that we're having these conversations now is incredible, you know. And those of you who are watching and those of you who are listening, if you see something in our leather family, in our kink family, that isn't being, you know, seen or visible or heard, maybe it's your opportunity to step forward and be that voice for a group that doesn't, you know, is not represented in the mass. You know, I'm going to Orlando Leather Pride in the end of October, the beginning of November, to have an information booth just for people to stop by and talk about, hey, maybe saline is something they want to look into. Hey, maybe I've tried X, Y, and Z as far as pumping. Who knows, you know, and just me being available and having these conversations, bringing everything that I'm passionate about to the forefront. I think we're in good hands if we all do our part, as if we see something, you know, that is missing.
Right
If
on.
I could jump in and just shine some light or throw some light, as you say, LTJ, Jamal's a fantastic example of that. We're IML class 46, and he's the first pup to hold this title. And so you think of like however many years forward, and very rapidly the pup community came along. Jamal's doing exactly that. So I think you make a really fantastic point, Tony. Thank you.
Fantastic. Let's see here. All right, Matt, is there anything that you think that we have not discussed? that we should shed light on?
So something that I'm like a huge staunch supporter of is the partners of the title holders. Um, I have like a little spiel that I'll say whenever I see them out. Um, and I say behind every great title is a greater partner or partners and a greater support network. Your success, their success is your success, and your success is their success. And I think over the time, I think I met Tom, I met your partner, I met Spencer, I met yours, Jamal, I met yours. Lewis, I know you're dating someone, but I have not met them yet. So I always try to pull people aside and at least say that message because I think they are sometimes like the unsung heroes. Because even just on this call, right, we're visible, they're not, but they do so much, not only for us, but for like sometimes the people in their own communities, right? They're sometimes doing the coat checks when like we have to be busy doing something else, right? So I just think if you see them out, always talk to them, always introduce them, and make sure that they're feeling welcomed and included. And even at IML, I was trying to give my pins to the partners too, and some of them said like, "You were the only one who gave me one." And I just, they deserve everything. So that's all. I just want to say that. So
That's a great,
shedding light on that.
yeah, awesome. All right, Tom, what you got left?
I'll probably Yeah, babes. From my side, I'll probably cheat because it's something that I talked about after you asked me one question. But it sounds quite morbid. But my mum and dad always said to me, when the time comes for us to, pass away, we'll be remembered for who we are as a person and not to some extent what we've done. And I talked about that word of decency, and very similar to what I said, queer community, small in most parts of the world. Our leather and kink community is unfortunately just a fraction of that. So we need to make sure that we're looking after each other, showing decent moral human values in order to, I think we've talked about the word, making the boat go faster. Because our community is so small, we get involved with lots of projects that involve collaboration. We talk a lot about bitching, moaning, and whining. Over the past 2 years, I've countlessly looked into that and done my best not to throw a little bomb in there because I just think, firstly, I don't have time for that, and I don't want to, as we talked about, making the boat go faster, making the boat go a little bit slower in terms of things. So I think at the end of the day, just I recognize that authenticity matters, and hopefully everybody's authenticity is shining good light and not throwing shade all of the time. So going back to decent values, just continue to be that good person, not only for yourself, but for people in your community.
Right on, Tom. Cool. AJ, back to you.
Back to me. So, here I would say twofold. One is education, and the other is rocking the vote, making sure that people get out there to vote, making sure that they do vote, that they understand what they're voting for, and they understand what could be at stake if they don't vote. And just sending that message. Here in Michigan, it's a split state, and it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's really important.
Right on. And last but not least, Jamal, what you got? Because I know
I'm going to piggyback off everybody else, but if you don't see something, say something. And what I mean by that is, if you at an event and there are no women, ask questions. At another event, if there's no trans people, ask questions.
Yeah.
If you have a contest and you see people who have accessibility needs in the audience, but there are no interpreters, ask questions. See if you see something that's out of place, it's never going to change unless you start asking questions and making a difference. Tom amazed me when I was in Hamburg, and it was a situation where they didn't have interpreter on the stage. However, for a contest, the Mr. Hamburg contest, yet their Mr. Hamburg Bear is deaf. He had to bring his own interpreters, and they were out in the audience, and you can see there were others who are also accessibility needed that they had to use that one interpreter in that audience rather than having somebody on stage. So I asked questions. And
You
Tom took it a
did, yeah.
step further. And he
You
really
you
made
you,
it.
No, oh yeah, absolutely. You kind of ran over to me almost straight away and kind of whispered been to my ear to help me understand this. You know, is this kind of normal also? And it kind of, from my side personally, it kind of hit me. And I guess that goes back to a question that was previously asked about what IML has done for you. This exactly, kind of spotting things quite quickly. If something, you know, could be done a little bit better, say it and action it. And since then, we've come together, haven't we, Jamal, and talked about kind of what Europe looks like in terms of that subject area.
I mean, and that's the biggest thing. Nothing's ever going to change unless you just ask questions or say something.
Right on, y'all. I think that is a perfect end to this class session, y'all. I want to go ahead and thank each one of you, Jamal, Matt, Spencer, AJ, Tony, Tom, and James, who had to leave. So pretty much I'm looking forward to seeing what we do. Remember, we all still have a spotlight until we all step down next IML. The spotlight is on us. It's up to us how we use it. We're all lights. We're all glowing up. And I look forward to keeping this going throughout the year until it's time for us to take our next step forward. With that being said, I'm going to count to 3, everyone. And when I count to 3, you're going to say, if you're not acting right, wait, if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. We're going to do it together. I'm going to count to 3. If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. If you're not throwing
If you're
light,
not throwing light,
you're
you're not acting right.
That brings us to the end, y'all, and I am 100% certain that you're going to see these people continue to pop up in my life, and I am so grateful. I'm so glad they all took time to do this. You know, I know sometimes I'm like super busy. I don't communicate the way I want to, but I love and appreciate every single one of you. And when I take my vacation after my step down in November, we're gonna let my hair down and we're gonna let loose and have a good time.
Figurative hair.
My hair down.
Brilliant.
All right, y'all.
I can't wait to see that lace front.
Right. Okay.
I have really been talking to professionals about getting a man weave, so it will happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be the right look, okay? We might end up with some braids like Jamal. You don't know. So, all right, y'all. So that brings us to the end. I want to say goodbye now. Everyone, goodbye. Thank you all so much. Bye, audience. We are done.
Thanks, LTJ.
So remember, Wednesday,
Goodbye.
September 11th.
Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.